What's up, everyone, and welcome into the Buffalo Sports Collective. It is Wednesday, July 2nd, 2025. As always, I'm PK alongside my co-host Phil. Episode 369. Phil, back for another one. Our first month of our off season is done. We're going to start this off how we normally do now during the summers because everybody truly does care. Week in review. What did you do in your last week?
Not much, which was nice again. On Sunday, we went to Lewiston for a little bit, walked on Center Street, went to some of the local shops, went down by the water, didn't eat there, but went to the silo area, saw the really big speedboat, whatever turbo rapid jet that thing is that does the Niagara Falls fun rapid jet thing. Looks pretty cool. Would like to do it at some point in my life. It did seem pretty interesting. Outside of that, I think pretty much just chilled. I got a transition metal piece from one room to the other installed.
It looked good.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, that was about it. Pretty casual.
Yeah, I know you asked about Lewiston. I'm glad you had a good time there. Me, was a little bit more eventful, but not super. It's going to start picking up soon. Fence is done. Posted the video and the pictures. Everybody seems to like it. The fence is done. Everything. The only thing left with it is a couple gates, and then Brooke has to stain it. Otherwise, it's done. It's complete. Done. Over with. Thank God. Don't want to do another fence for a while. I'll have to do cattle fencing down the road in the backfield, but that's not for a few more years, so I'm putting that off as long as possible. I got my strawberries in the ground finally. You
Nice.
showed me the rain barrel downspout diverter. That finally came in on Monday. It's been raining the last 2 days. I wanted to do it, but that will eventually be done. I think the rain naturally is filling up the rain barrel as we speak. Well, not as we speak because the rain's done, but it was a downpour over here for a while. I don't know if you got it, but the strawberries are in the ground. They're looking good. I got a couple raspberries. Everything's in the ground. We're getting there. We're getting there. And then we're watching a foster puppy right now. He may be making an appearance at some point in the show, so if I step away for a second, Brooke's going to the gym, so I'm going to be on puppy duty in like 40 minutes, so we'll see how fast this goes. So we might be having a puppy appearance on the show. But yeah, just for 2 weeks, not permanent, but his current foster family's on vacation. We've stepped up, and we're watching the little guy for a while. Super sweet puppy, a lot easier than the 3 crazy ones we had before. But that was my week in review. It was kind of a shorter, quicker one this week, but as you can tell, we're kind of relaxing this summer. It's probably going to pick up a little bit. We got something. Stay tuned. We're working on something in the next couple weekends that I don't know when it will make its appearance, but Phil and I are going to be put through the ringer in a little bit here, in preparation for Tough Mudder, I guess. That's in September again. I keep forgetting that's coming up. I'm not looking forward to that. But that will wrap up this week in review. Come back next Wednesday to see what we did in this upcoming week. But remember, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Don't forget to follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts, including YouTube. You can see our faces. Saul Phil's decked out newer office setup that he's got going on over there. Check out our website at buffalosportscollective.com. It's kind of down right now, but while you're there, you can check out our store by hitting the shop tab at the top of the website, or if you're on the social media sites, you can hit the link tree, and that will take you to the store. You can represent the BSC on the go and look for the time breakdowns in the description of the show. We're starting off. We got contacted about this, seeing if we could have some type of partnership, and we have partnered with a great group of people and we're going to try to help promote the 2025 Fann Cup that is happening July 19th for the last 24 years from cities across North America. They come together to play against one another. It started 24 years ago where a group of guys just wanted to play against one another, and it transformed into something spectacular. And they're going to be playing a great sport of lacrosse to help raise money for a variety of charities. And while there is going to be action on the field, there will be action in the stands as well, with a big basket auction, a wheel of crap, and a 50-50 as well as some other stuff that they haven't fully released yet. There's also going to be a big party to follow the event. This year is back in Buffalo for the first time since 2017. It's taken place at Riverworks. The opening ceremony is at 8:30. Games kicking off at 9 o'clock. The charities this year, Phil, are 4 fantastic ones. Native American Community Services of Western New York, Buddy's Second Chance Rescue, Nickel City Canine Rescue, and Greater Buffalo Adaptive Sports. This event, like I already mentioned, hasn't been here since 2017, so it's gotten bigger and better since the last time it was here, and I'm excited. I will be in attendance on July 19th. Who knows how long? Going to see if I can get Brooke down there with me, but I'm excited to see it. It's for a great cause. Those 4 charities are awesome, and I'm looking forward to it, and I think being able to, and we've been saying this for going on over 4 years now, trying to find ways to give back to Buffalo and the region, and being able to partner with this great group of people that puts this on, that raises tons of money for charity. I couldn't be more grateful and appreciative of them reaching out to us to see what we could do in this small little role that we have in this area to help promote this great cause. So I'm excited you'll hear about this more and more as we move forward, and I'm working on some stuff behind the scenes to try to promote it more on our side as well.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of I'm forgetting the name other than Power Play. But
11 Day? Yep.
There it is. 11-Day Power Play that was, obviously started locally and supports a lot of charities. Reminds me a lot about that, of just like your casual fans or casual players getting together and making a really awesome event that also benefits a lot of charities. Like you mentioned, this has been kind of all over, but nice to see it back in Buffalo for the first time since, like you said, 2017. Kind of cool that it is a traveling event, so a lot of people get to see what this event's all about, kind of across a lot of different areas, a lot of, Northeast, but still, it's moving quite a bit, and just to be able to be a part of it is pretty cool. The event itself is pretty awesome, just to, again, have this kind of group of fans that is able to come together and create this event. It's really impressive whenever we see this kind of stuff. You and I, like we've been trying to do, like you said, behind the scenes, we're working on something, but it took, there's just 4 people we were trying to get our schedules to line up, and it's taken a very long time to find a date to do what we're trying to get done behind the scenes, and to be able to get this kind of event together. Like, it's really, really impressive what they're able to do, and really awesome to see it, especially at Riverworks. It's a really, really great area to go. So even if you're, obviously, like you said, not going to be playing, there's plenty to do in the stands. Go watch, go have fun, go be a part of the event. It's a really great opportunity to see some lacrosse and just see a really great event.
Yeah, if you're missing some lacrosse in the area, come down. It's going to be good, fun action, and if you see me walking around, come say hi. Maybe I'll ignore you. I don't know. I'm not a people person. But yeah, we're excited to partner with them. Thank you for reaching out, and we'll do our best to promote it on this small little podcast that we do have in the area. But it is Bandits-centered, so maybe we got some people that'll stumble out there and have possibly never heard of it, and even if it adds $20 to the charities, that's perfectly, and we did our job then. But we'll move on. Bandits, sort of. Bandits adjacent. We're into July here, but we're continuing with our week-to-week report cards. We've done the teams that missed the playoffs. Now we're into the teams that were first-round exits in the playoffs. We got San Diego, we got Georgia, and we got Calgary on the docket. Moving on, San Diego, Buffalo's first-round matchup, 5-4 exit in round 1 to the eventual 3 straight champions, Buffalo Bandits. They finished 9-9, finished 8th in the division, 215 goals for, 11.95, which was good for 5th, 209 goals against. If that sounds familiar, it's because so many teams finished with that mark. 11.61 goals against. Phil, what was your overall thoughts on San Diego's season?
I thought they had a good season. It obviously wasn't as good as previous years. They've been one of the top teams in the league for a long time. I forgot, and I wanted to ask you to do this for the show, kind of go back to what we each predicted them to finish at before the season, just to see, A, how far off we were, and B, where they kind of ended up compared to our own projections for this team, and it kind of gives you a good idea of where we thought they had the opportunity to be and where they kind of ended up. But San Diego, obviously, like you said, took a step back. They were 9-9, barely snuck into playoffs, but they were able to make playoffs. But they had some injuries. I thought the offense, what they lost in Stotts, Doby, and Dixon, added Hellier, Benesh, McIntosh, and Courier. Yes, those were all really great additions, but to me, it wasn't quite enough to put them over the top in some of these really close games. I just don't think their offense was dynamic enough to be where they wanted to be in the season. I thought they had a very good offense. I don't think they were bad by any means, but I don't think it was good enough for the pieces that they lost. They were missing some of those all-star elements. Like, yes, Benesh is amazing. Yes, Hellier had a really great season, McIntosh, but a lot of those guys are older, and they're on the back end of their career. I mean, Courier had a ridiculously impressive, should have been MVP-type season, but
wasn't nominated.
Yeah, ridiculous. But you lost to Dixon, who went out there and did amazing. You lost Stotts, who was amazing. You lost Doby, who's just an incredibly clutch veteran player. So the players that went out on offense, I don't know, even though they did a good job, and you and I thought in the offseason they did do a good job bringing in replacements, I don't know if it was just quite enough to get them back where they wanted to be. On defense, I thought they were okay. Obviously, Courier had his ridiculous season, but you were missing Baptiste most of the season. Rubish missed a few games. Gobrek took a nice step forward. Logan had a good rebound season after only playing 10 games in 2024. But overall, I thought their defense, while good, just was missing, again, that little bit. I mean, Rubish missing the 6 games definitely hurt. And then to me, which I don't like saying, it's going to be a mini theme, I thought O'Rig took a step back this year. I think he's still going to be one of the best goalies in the league, and someday down the line he might be the best goalie in the league. I think he absolutely still has that in him, but I think this year he did go a little bit back from his former season. His goals against average went from 9.79 to 11.47, and his save percentage went from 79 to 76. So while I think he still played well, and I think even you saw a lot of times where he'd either have a bad game or a bad start, and then he would kind of snap back into place and he'd be fine, and we saw it in the playoff game against the Bandits. He still has it in him. He held the Buffalo Bandits, one of the best offenses in the entire league, to 5 goals in a playoff situation, and he played absolutely incredible in that second half, holding them to 0. So he absolutely is going to be a great goalie, but I think for the season he took a little bit of a step back, and I expect him to rebound from that moving forward.
Yeah, we both had him finishing first. So yeah, underachieve is the right word here for it. They started 3-5, and we were like, oh man, and then they went on that 5-1 run, and we're like, okay, they're getting back into it. And then they stumbled down the stretch to 1-3 to finish the final 4. I think he put it perfectly. The offense was kind of a hodgepodge. I'll give the credit to Pat Gregoire, who said it. He was afraid of the lefties going into this season. It was kind of Ryan Benesh and who knows. And I know they also had Kyle Jackson up there, but I believe he missed the start of the season as well. And then he came in, and then they traded him to Albany. But it was kind of a mismatch trying to figure out what the heck to do on the lefty side. So I'll give Pat Gregoire tons of credit on that one. He called that one from the get-go, and that's why you see Zach Courier have so many offensive stats, because he was having to play double shifts non-stop. But back end, Shumay missed the whole season. I think there was a massive loss that wasn't talked about enough. Matthew Wright, who I thought was coming on even stronger, and he was the pest for Buffalo, he missed half the season. Rubish, you already mentioned 6 games. And then another one that I don't think gets mentioned enough is Trey Leclerc missed 6 games. When he came back, the offense started looking better, and the whole team looked better. That's when they went on that 5-1 run in the middle of this part of the season. But, San Diego seems like another team that they're kind of like Toronto a bit, where it's just they reach a certain point and then they max out. The goals are making it to the finals and winning a championship, and they seem to fall short of that year in and year out. And we'll go through all these. Georgia owns their first round pick from the 2024 deal that they got Georgia's first round pick. They own a first round compensatory pick from losing Dixon and Doby, one of the two, and then they own their own second round pick. So they have a little bit pieces here, but they're a team that's ready to go for it. Like Westberg is signed for 2 more years. Ben McIntosh is signed for 1 more year. I believe, I don't know why I don't have him there. 1 second, pulling it up. A lot of tabs open. And of course, I don't have that open. Yeah, Hellier has one more year as well. I just didn't have him on the stat sheet at all. So a lot of their offense is still there. Dylan Watson has his rights are still with there, but you're missing Ryan Benesh. He's your main lefty up there. What are you going to do on that left side? So I think as you're looking towards this, and again, I'll pull up the free agent market right now as we kind of look to what they're going to do with the lefties here. And this is beneficial because last week when we were going through this, it's a lot of West Coast guys. Keegan Ball's sitting out there. Curtis Dixon's sitting out there, but he's not going back to San Diego. Robert Church, maybe. You got a Kevin Crowley. Does he want to stay out west? Tom Schreiber's probably more of an East Coast guy. But you're looking at the lefties here. Mitch Jones. That could fit there. He's a West Coast guy. Does he want to play for San Diego? You got Jesse King, who can't be franchised. Does he make the move over to San Diego? Ryan Keenan, I can't see him leaving Saskatchewan. He's probably going to get franchise tag. But you got Casey Jackson, you got Corey Small, Dan Craig. There's some good lefties that want to stay on the West Coast. That could fix your left-handed lineup there because the righties are pretty set. It's mostly the lefties. And then you're looking at the back end. I think Zach Currier is probably going to get the franchise tag here, but I like the whole makeup of this team if they can get over the hump. And we both picked them to finish the number 1 seed. They didn't get that. They underachieved. I'm going to have them much lower in my rankings unless they do something this offseason against CBA and all that kind of fun stuff. But it's going to be very interesting to see what this team does to the lefties right now because under contract right now, you'd really have Pat Cavanaugh, and that's it. And he's played 1 game in his entire box career in the NLL. So it's not something you really want to look forward to going into this offseason. It's just your lefties look even worse than they did going into the season, and I mistakenly gave them too much credit.
But yeah, like you say, if you can add a dynamic Mitch Jones type player to that side, then like this is a team that's arguably one dynamic forward away from making that next jump. I think Ulrich, like I said, can bounce back to previous, how he was the year before. We saw what he did in playoffs, and then, like you said, the defense is there as long as everybody also comes back healthy. If everybody plays a full season next year and they can bring in some kind of dynamic lefty, I think they have the makeup of a team once again to make a big push into the playoffs. But like you said, we will probably be ranking them a little bit lower next year.
Yeah, because Trent DeChico is going into his second year. Matthew Wright, if you get him for a full season next year, that's year 3 for him. Does James Barclay come back? He's a UFA. You got Cam Holdings a UFA. Rubish is a UFA. But a lot of these other guys are locked in. Their rights are with San Diego right now. Zach Deacon, I like that move. Danny Logan's an RFA. Eli Gobrick, he's an RFA. So there's a lot of good pieces on this back end. I just think everything needs to come together for San Diego to make that big run, and it does start in net. And O'Reilly's got 3 more years left. He's only 22 years old. He's only going to keep getting better. But like you said, he kind of took a step back this season. We'll see if he makes that adjustment now that more film's out there, now that more teams had the full year adjustment to him in the crease for San Diego for his second year. You saw what adjustments they made to him in year 2. What adjustments does he make to the league in year 3? But they will end up needing a backup because it sounds like Mike Poulin is going to be retiring. So it's very important to get another backup behind Chris Origlieri. Even though he is the stable piece, he's got the pipes. It's going to be who's going to be behind him because I think Poulin has a lot of... There's a reason they talked Poulin back into playing because they wanted an established goaltender behind O'Rig. I think Poulin was the perfect piece for it. Do they go more younger or do they try to get another veteran piece behind O'Rig? It will be interesting to see what kind of direction they got. But we gave him a C. I think C is kind of more generous. Maybe a C minus would have been more fitting. But I think because of that 5-1 run or 5-1 run, I keep saying 5-1, 5-1 run in the middle of the season kind of saved him. I'll keep him at a C. But I think overall, this was another lackluster season for a team that went all in, getting the Helliers, getting the McIntoshes, getting the Beneshes, making the big trade for Zach Currier. So I do think that the pieces are there if they fix that lefty side of the offense, because you got a stud in Wes Berg. We didn't even talk about him. He's an absolute stud for the righties. Package that with McIntosh, package that with LeClaire, package that with Hellier. The righties are fine. If you fix the lefties and the defense stays healthy and O'Rig bounces back, this could be another championship title contending team. But the only interest that I have, or that we have for the Bandits, Adam Noakes. He was a 2022 second rounder, 39th overall, only played in 4 games last year. They were kind of relying on him to step up. They had 2 guys that they really wanted to step up. Noakes and Jake Govett. He kind of stepped up in the later half of the season, still 8 games, 14 points. You want a little bit more from that guy. Dylan Watson stepped up as your lefty as well. They don't really have a lefty piece, but Noakes was left on the practice squad, which means he's a street UFA. Does Buffalo want to add more competition to the left side of the offense with a Clay Scanlon? Have those 2 guys battle it out? That's really the only piece that I'm looking at this team because, you got Rubish. He's more of a West Coast guy. You got Cam Holding. I can't see him leaving San Diego. James Barclay, he wants to stay West Coast as well. So you're not really going to get a Trent DeChico from this team, even though I really like him. You're not going to get a Dylan Watson from this team. I think he wants to stay more West Coast. So
Danny Logan's the other one I want.
Danny Logan, yeah, I still think he's not going to. No. Yeah, they've got a lot of nice pieces that I would like, but I can't see. It goes back to, yeah, I would love Buffalo to have them, but there's a reason that San Diego has them. Why would San Diego want to part with them? So it will be interesting to see what this team does for the lefties. He is a lefty. So do they want to bring him back? He was drafted by this team, but I think Adam Noakes bringing him into this type of offense to add him for more competition to the lefties, get a little deeper on that side, at least in camp, it can't hurt.
I think Logan is another just example. Again, he's not coming to Buffalo, but he's another example of the kind of face-off guy that PK and I like. He was only at 48% on his face-offs when he got in there because of the Baptiste injury.
Yep.
But 48%. Not bad, not great. It's not 60, but at the same time, he brought 19 caused turnovers, 109 loose balls, 5 block shots, and 9 points. Like, it's that kind of, like, that's the kind of idea for a face-off guy that PK and I like. If you don't have somebody who's going to go 60% plus,
exactly.
I want somebody who can go 48%, that's fine, but has all these other defensive stats and offensive stats to go along with it. And he's just another prime example. And again, yeah, he got in there because Baptiste went down, but he did quite well. 83 of 172 for 48%. Take that all day.
Yeah, dealing with these West Coast teams are a little bit more difficult, especially in the NLL where,
they're not coming.
They work for a living, and a lot of guys are on the West Coast because of their life. A lot of guys are on the East Coast because of their life. So you got to add that into this, and that's why the NLL stinks with this aspect of it. But Georgia finished 7th, 9-9.
Ooh.
They lost 13-9 to Saskatchewan in round 1. They were, I believe, the only playoff team with a negative goal differential. 214 goals for, 11.89, 6. Good for 6. And then 217 goals against, 12.06, which was 12th. Phil, overall, what would your thoughts of Georgia's season? Because I've said it so many times, to me, they were the most frustrating team in the NLL, hands down, and have been for the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, this team it doesn't go anywhere is the problem I have with them. They are consistently blah. As a team, they are just sitting right there like the Buffalo Bills were for so long at that 8-9, 9-8, whatever they were doing back in the day. Not really making playoffs, kind of making playoffs, trying to, but like just not doing enough to be good, and not being bad enough to get a good draft pick kind of idea. Where like they're just sitting dead middle. They have some great games, they have some impressive talent, and then they have plenty of times where you're like, what is this team and what do I do with them? Lyle Thompson, Shane Jackson, incredible talents. They did a really good job this year. But to me, the offense in general wasn't consistent enough. They'd have games where they're putting up 15, 16, 17 goals. Then other games they're putting up 8, 9 and hoping their defense and goaltending can do enough to get the win. Bomberry and McIntosh had fine seasons. Cole took a really big step forward. He doubled his points. Oakes took a little bit of a dip in his 10 games. But at the same time, when you have one player go up, those points got to go somewhere, so another player is going to go down. I think Cole and Oakes kind of stole each other's points away. But on defense, last year they had 9 players with at least 15 caused turnovers. This year they had 2. So their defense took a big hit. I don't, and maybe you have more information on this than I do. I don't understand the Comizio trade. He led their team in caused turnovers the year before. He was having another solid season. Then they grab a third-round pick
It had
for
to be
him.
something West Coast related.
See, I looked into that, and like the last I saw, he is originally from, I think, New Jersey. So I don't understand. I don't know. Maybe something happened there. It seemed like a very strange trade when the defense was struggling to lose one of the better defenders. What was that?
It came out of nowhere also.
Yeah, so that one's a head scratcher to me. Wiedemann only got in 12 games. That didn't help. Liam Burns went from 21 caused turnovers to just 5. So the defense to me was definitely taking a step back. They got a little bit disjointed. And then Dobson, same thing with Origlieri. I can't call out one and not call out the other. I expected both of them to step up this season, and both of them took a bit of a step back. Dobson's goals against average was pretty much the same at, around 11 goals, but his save percentage went from 78 to 76. I don't think he's a bad goalie by any means. I don't think he is an issue. He's another one where I think if I'm Georgia, he's my goaltender for years and years and years. But they need the defense in front of him to be better. He was asked to be the reason they won games, and I don't think he had that in him as much this year. He definitely has it in spurts where he just is the guy, and he's the reason they win 9-8, 8-7, whatever they do when their offense goes to sleep. But there were plenty of times where he took a little bit of a step back this season. I expect him to rebound without a problem. I think he is their goaltender of the future if he doesn't go anywhere. But I do think him taking a step back, and the defense especially taking a big step back, hurt this team, and the offense just was not consistent enough.
Yeah, they started 4-0. They lost 3 straight after, and their last 7 they went 2-5. This is why it's such a frustrating team, because I don't know their identity. Like it's
Right.
so weird.
They
Like,
don't know their identity.
They don't know it either, and they just keep running it back with the same thing and expecting different results. They own San Diego's first round pick, which is 7th overall. They own their own 8th overall pick. They own the 16th overall pick from the Ryan Lanchbury trade with Rochester. They own their own 2nd. They own Calgary's 2nd from the Hudson trade in 2023. On top of that, their top 4 picks from last year's draft didn't even play this season. If you're doing the math, things aren't mathing. They still got tons of players under contract. Brian Cole's got another year. Shane Jackson, Andrew Q, Lyle Thompson. If you're doing the math there, that's the main core of your offense that just wasn't good enough. That's still locked in. You're looking for guys that need deals on the offense. Seth Oakes is the only UFA, along with Miles Thompson, Richie Connell, who's UFA because he was left on the practice squad. But and Brendan Bomberry, he's the only main piece from this offense that is a UFA that might not be coming back. But then you look at the defense. Yeah, the defense has a lot of UFAs, and we're going to go over in a second, but you got Liam Burns, Joey Capito, Jordan McIntosh. I think if you're going to make a change, it's going to end up on the back end because a lot of these guys are older, they're aging out, but are you just going to have a complete flip and rely completely on the younger end of the defense? I don't think so. So you're going to have to bring some guys back. There's just not enough room. Like, that's what I mean by the math's not mathing. You got 4 guys from last year who didn't play a single minute of NLL action from last year's draft. You're adding 5 in the top 2 rounds this coming one, pending no moves. There's just not room. So there needs to be some massive change up. And we talked about it with Nick, the play-by-play man for Georgia during the interview series, and I even asked, like, this coming offseason, if Georgia's a one and done, is there going to be massive shakeup in the roster pool? And he said there could be. And it's just this team's so frustrating because they don't have a true identity. They don't know what their true identity is, and they keep running it back over and over and over. And I'm not saying trade Lyle Thompson. He's one of the best lacrosse players in the world. But you have to give him help around it. Shane Jackson was rough to start, and I was on his case nonstop, and then he turned it on. Andrew Q kind of had a down season. Brian Cole, I think, had a great season for transitioning from a transition player to a full-time offensive player, kind of like the version of Ian McKay. 33 goals on the season for a guy who really hadn't played full-time forward in his entire career. But I'm very interested to see what this team does this offseason, because if there's not massive change, if they just try to run it back, fan base is going to get very, very aggravated. But I also was down on them. I wasn't expecting big things. This was the only team I absolutely nailed in where I had them finishing. I had them finishing 7th. They did finish 7th. So I gave them a B-. I think that's a fair grade considering they finished 9-9. I think B- is fine. I think depending on what they do this offseason, I think I could be very intrigued on what they look like. But for this past season, I think they did what was expected of them from us. I don't think they exceeded, and I don't think they failed expectations. I think they fit perfectly exactly where we thought they were going to be, a middling team that was probably going to be a one and done in the playoffs. And if you're looking for more aspirations and run it back from, I think 2017 is when they won the championship, you're far from it with this makeup of this team. Something needs to change. And I know I went on a little tangent and a little rant about this team, but it's just writing power rankings and seeing them go in and then out and then in and out. And it was just such a frustrating team. I just wish they would stay out so I didn't have to keep writing about them because it was so frustrating.
Yeah, this is the epitome of the meme "do something" with the little.
I was hoping you had
poking.
your shirt.
I should have for the Sabres. It would have been a good one to wear for today and free agency, and we'll get into that later, sadly. But yeah, I mean, this team needs some kind of shakeup. Like you said, they need to do something, and that's the problem with this team. And it's been the problem with them for a little while now, is that they just continue to run it back with the same group of guys, hoping for a different result. And it's simply not happening. And they have a few really solid players here and there. But like you said, they have way too many people that are going to be on this roster. And either they're going to have to, like, this would be a team that should, especially with everything you just said, either move out one of the picks that they had last year or take some of these picks, bundle them together, and go get another dynamic forward from somebody who's trying to also rebuild. Go to Vegas and be like, hey, here's a bunch of picks. Keep rebuilding. We'll take whoever you got to be on offense. Like, this is the kind of team that hopefully, whenever the offseason kicks off with everything going on, we see some trades from them for their own sake, that they have the ammo to make a big offseason splash in the trade market. But will they actually do it, or will they be like the Sabres and just sit on everything and draft everybody and then, run it back and be one and done in the playoffs again?
So before we get into the Bandits' interests, let's go over our first and only sponsor of this episode, Tap That Taproom.
Tap That Taproom, still at 363 Delaware Street in Tonawanda, New York. They are Buffalo's first women-owned self-pour bar featuring 30 consistently rotating taps, offering a variety of beers, ciders, sours, seltzers, and malt beverages.
What is not a trap is their schedule they got going on. They got the weekly Geeks Who Drink. It is tonight if you're listening to this on Wednesday. If it's Thursday, come back next week. They are every Wednesday at 7:30. Thursdays are Thank You Thursdays, 10% off for military, first responders, and teachers. Friday is 3 to 7 happy hour. Get down there, find your new favorites at a discounted rate. Saturday, live music with Eric Weinholtz starting at 7 p.m. They are the place to go if you want to listen to live music. And then Sunday, we've been plugging it for weeks now, 4 to 7. They are the place to be on Sunday, 716 adoption events. Make sure you're pre-approved if you want to adopt. Even if you don't, like I said on the reel that we posted last week, pints and pups, no better combo. Go down, hang out with some great puppies. I'm waiting for my puppy to come up any minute here. But I absolutely love the event that they're doing here. It's such a great way to get more people out and interested in fostering or adoption. There's no better way, and I'm really appreciative of Tap That Taproom for joining up, but also get down there for that patio season. Patio Bevs, nothing better than hanging out on the redone patio that they got. It's absolutely fantastic. To find out what else they got coming up, check out their Facebook page. Find out what's on tap and what's on deck. Check out tapthattaproom.com. This is my most favorite part of all these report cards, is digging into Georgia's right now, because these three names are the ones that I'm most interested in, that I do think are most achievable. And in this one, I've said for multiple off seasons, and it's probably not going to happen. He's probably going to go back to Georgia because he is their captain. But Jordan McIntosh, he is a UFA. You can't franchise him. He's the transition player. But this is the prototypical player that I would like Buffalo to get to replace Ian McKay if Ian McKay is staying up on forward. He's 13, 17, and 30 on the season, 128 loose balls, 18 caused turnovers, and 18 block shots. Oh, if you don't want him, what about Mike Manley? He's 36 years old. He might be looking for a championship here. 60 loose balls, 15 caused turnovers, and 17 block shots. I'll continue that theme. John Rannigan, 33 years old, can't be franchised. He's also a defensive player. He's got 12 block shots. All three of these guys are very reminiscent of what Buffalo is looking for, unless they change their philosophies and Matt Vince is retiring. But even if you do change their philosophies, they also are double-digit cause turnover machines. So I think all three of these guys could be beneficial. I'm not saying add all three, but if you can add one of these three because of the backlog of picks and players that Georgia has, I think one of these three guys could be beneficial to Buffalo. Again, ticker across the bottom of the screen, pending what Buffalo ends up doing in the CBA. But I think all three of these guys are very interesting pieces that Buffalo could bring in realistically and add experience and talent on the back end of Buffalo's defense.
Would you take, I was trying to pull up his numbers quickly, McIntosh did have a better season in some areas than Kyle Matisse, but obviously Kyle Matisse was here. We don't know what he's doing in the offseason, where he's going, what's going on. He was traded here, blah, blah, blah. He had 41 points, 5 caused turnovers, and 3 blocks on the whole of the season with Ottawa and the Bandits. Would you, if you had to pick Jordan McIntosh, Kyle Matisse coming back, do you lean one way or the other? Because Matisse was another guy that you and I were after for the same exact reasons for a very long, long time. Finally got him. He's a UFA now, so we don't know what's going on. But between those two, they're very comparable style players that we like the Bandits to have. Is there one that you lean toward the other?
I think I would lean McIntosh because I just think he would fit better for the role that I would want him to play in. I know that Matisse was racking up the assists, but I don't think he is a true goal scorer from the back end. He's more of a goal scorer when he's playing full-time forward, which we saw in Ottawa. I think McIntosh adds that extra element, and this is if Matt Vince does retire, you're probably going to have to score more goals because you're probably going to let in more goals, and which is saying something because Buffalo is number 1 in the league, over 13 goals a game. But I think you're going to have to add more different aspects. If Kyle Buchanan retires, that's 30-plus goals out the door. And are you going to rely on Ian McKay to have another 30-goal season? You know what I mean? You're going to have to find goals elsewhere, and I think Jordan McIntosh adds more to that element than a Kyle Matisse does, and I think he also adds that element on the back end of blocking shots and playing that special teams where a Kyle Matisse we have not seen, and this was his first role back on the defensive end. So I think for the role that I think Buffalo would be looking for, I think McIntosh fits that role better than a Kyle Matisse.
Yeah, I think I agree. I like McIntosh a little bit more. He's a little bit smaller. He's only 6'1" compared to 6'5", but I think that leans into why I like McIntosh a little bit more because he has, like you said, a little bit more of that transition ability, a little bit more of that speed, whereas Matisse has that to his game, but I think, like you said, he's either, if he's on offense, he's great. If he's on defense, he's great. I don't think his transition game at this point is as good as it was in the past, whereas McIntosh, I think, still brings that element, plus, like you said, the cause turnovers, plus the block shots. So if there was ever an opportunity to get him, and again, this might be one of those times, well, he's a UFA, so never mind, can't be traded anyway. Georgia, just release him to the Wild and let him win a championship with Buffalo.
So we'll move on to Calgary, 10-8, one of our biggest misses, and I should say the biggest miss we had. They finished 6th, lost 16-12 to Halifax in round 1. 219 goals for, which was 4th in the league at 12.17. 209 goals against, again, I told you it was going to pop up again. 11.61 goals against, tied for 6th. Phil, season review for Calgary because they were our biggest miss, and I will give full credit to them. They shined bright like a roughneck diamond. That was bad.
We did not believe in their offense was the biggest thing with this team. When they came out, brought their offense out there, ran Dixon and Doby back to the team, we were like, what are they doing? This is a team that looks like it's about to implode. Why are they still trying to go for it? And instead, Curtis Dixon reminded everyone that he is ridiculously good, went back to his 2023 glory year of just 2 years ago. King, Cook, Doby, Pace, Dixon were all pretty status quo from the year they had before, but their offense was really, really good. This is a team that headed into playoffs. You and I were a bit worried about that. If Bandits in a one-and-done situation had to match up against Calgary, wasn't all that thrilled that their defense was nasty, their offense was solid. Yes, their goals against went up from the year before, but at the same time, McLeod struggled early on. He's a young goalie. He's going to struggle in general, and I think you saw that. But once they made the trade for Rose, this team got that much scarier. I thought Rose was a really, obviously, very large addition for that team, and he played really, really well. I know he was a little bit off in that playoff game, but at the same time, he was still just really good. I thought Bennett Smith on the defense took a nice step forward. Inacio in the faceoff dot was incredible. Salama as a defender, still very solid. Reese Callies, Jack Follows, all very good on the defense. This team as a whole is built very well. I don't know how much longer they can keep it up with Christian Del Bianco officially out the door. Now you're looking at your goaltender situation. I know that they brought in
Aiden Walsh.
There it is. And he had a really good start to his season, but he's still a young goalie. So, I mean, how is he? Is he going to be able to replicate those numbers on a different team and a different system? Obviously, there is no replacing Christian Del Bianco. So, yes, they are bringing in a goalie who's already kind of proven himself pretty well. But will he be able to repeat that and continue that trajectory upward? If he is, this team could do really well. But again, Dixon's getting up there in age. Dobie's getting up there in age. Who knows where that is going? They're both UFAs. Are they going to come back? They're missing their entire offense as far as the offseason goes. We'll see what this team kind of looks like moving forward. But for the season they had, absolutely incredible. For, again, like you said, where we projected them to where they finished up, and a team that was looking hot into playoffs. They were a bit of a scary team that only finished sixth.
Yeah, I called this team out last offseason. I said, what the heck are you doing? They traded Shane Simpson. Made sense. UFA wasn't going to resign. Courier, get it. Ticehurst out in the Aiden Walsh deal. Christian Del Bianco. They bring in Dixon. They bring in Dobie. They bring in Rose. They bring in McLeod. They bring in Lady. All in those deals and in free agency. And they won the final three to even make the playoffs. Remember that double dose that they had in the final week as well. Braden Mayo looks amazing. But, and I'll get into the free agency in a second here, but I was calling him out. I was like, what the heck are you doing trading for a Curtis Dixon? Why are you bringing back a Dane Dobie? Like, this makes no sense. You should be completely cleaning house and restarting. Why are you bringing in the aging veterans? It makes no sense. And then they went out and had career years. I'm like, okay, sure, go listen to those tapes. Fun, wow. But I will give them full credit as well. In the season, they're like, okay, this stuff's going well. Let's go out. And they made that trade for Christian Del Bianco, or I'm sorry, for Nick Rose. They're like, okay, we need to fix our back end. That's our weakest link. No shot at Cam McLeod. That was his first time starting in net. We need to get better. We have the offense that can do it. If we get an established goaltender that can settle in the defense. We saw it. Nick Rose played unbelievable, excluding the playoff game. But then you make there was a perfect storm. Vancouver wins. They're looking to add a goaltender, and Christian Del Bianco is the only place he's going to go. And Calgary needs help on the back end. That was the perfect. It was the perfect storm. We talked about that when that happened. They bring in Braden Lady to help on the back end too as well. I like what they're doing on the back end with Aiden Walsh in net, with Cam McLeod there as well. I like some of the pieces on the back end. You're looking at you got Griffin Hall who's there. You're looking at Jack Follows, Tyler Hendricks sitting back there now. You got Eli Salama who's still locked in there. Justin Inacio, you hit the nail on the head there. I think his role is going to keep expanding, and I think he's going to get more time in the back end. Braden Lady's there. Bennett Smith took a step forward. But then we look at the forward group. Tanner Cook and Matthew Gutierrez are the only ones under contract. Curtis Dixon, he's a UFA. He's not going back to Calgary. Dane Dobie, he's a UFA. Does he even come back? He's definitely not going back to Calgary. Jesse King, I can't see him going back to Calgary. The only one that I can see going back to Calgary right now is Tyler Pace, and that's because he can get franchised. He's going to be the next version of Christian Del Bianco if you've listened to Morning Shoot Around. It's going to happen. He's going to get franchised.
Also, Hayden Dixon's going to sit out and also try to get his way into Vancouver?
He sat out to start the season, too. Remember, he didn't get that contract until the last minute. He missed game 1, I believe it was. But Hayden Dixon's an RFA. He's probably going to be coming back, and Braden Maya, I think, is a nice piece to build around. And he's going to need to be built around with the lefties right there. But I also like Tanner Cook. I think he's a fantastic underrated player there. But this offense is going to be very questionable on what they're able to do. And if you listen to Morning Shoot Around and all the other podcasts that talk about Calgary and what they do financially, that's something that we're not going to talk about. But this offense that finished 4th in the league, I don't think are coming back. But since we're handing out report cards here, I mean, this is going to be the highest grade we've handed out so far, B+. I think if they would have gotten either a home game first round, or they would have knocked out Halifax in round 1 in advance, it would have been an easy A. but I got them as close to an A as possible. But I absolutely love their season, and they overachieved, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, again, we just didn't expect the offense to click as well as it did. It did amazing. The defense, when they played Buffalo, was very nasty and very tough to play against. And the goaltending, like you said, a little bit shaky, but after the trade, and that was the big thing with this team is that, again, we're not going to get into financials. We don't know enough about it. We're not players. But the team at least did show some interest in trying to make playoffs by going out there and making the big trade for Rose, finally getting Christian Del Bianco to Vancouver and making that big trade as well. So the organization did show that they're trying to bring something in to get them to win, to get them to make playoffs. They're not just kind of sitting there doing nothing, which is nice to see, but the other behind-the-scenes stuff we will let go. But, I mean, like you said, we had very, very low expectations, and they exceeded them. Now, next year when they lose their entire offense, not really sure what that's going to look like again.
Well, as you can see, this is Tony. Say hi to the screen, Tony. Hi, guys. He's like 3 months, a little over 3 months. So he's going to be joining the show until we're concluding here. But like we said, we gave him a B+. I definitely think they overachieved. I think their in-season trades were perfect because they made the moves that they needed to make. I look foolish for saying why you're bringing in Curtis Dixon, why you're bringing in Dane Doby, because that offense was absolutely filthy, and you said it perfectly. When the playoffs were rolling around, we were very, very worried to face Calgary in the first round because we had no idea what they were going to look like, and we've already seen Buffalo face them twice and lose once at home. So I really, really liked what they did. But Bandits' interest, again, there wasn't a ton because, again, this is a West Coast team, but they did bring in Aiden Walsh. We know the situation here in Buffalo. What are they going to do in the goaltending department? I'm not saying that he could come in and be the starter, but again, if Matt Vince retires or does not come back, I'm not saying it's happening. I'm hoping it's not. But you're going to need some competition for Steve Orleman. Can Cam McLeod come in and make a statement and win a job over Steve Orleman, or be that number 2 piece in net to be that backup that can push Steve Orleman to say, hey, if you struggle, I'm waiting in the wings for it? Because yes, 12.51 goals against and a 75 save percentage isn't great, but the defense in front of him wasn't great. This was his first time in net. If you get a better defense in front of him that Buffalo does have, could that be a better situation?
Yep, completely agree. And as we've seen, plenty of interesting goalies on our list for players possibly available.
So that will conclude this week's of Report Cards. We went over San Diego, we went over Georgia, and we went over Calgary. The next 3 teams will be on the next episode. So move on to the final spot of this episode. The Buffalo Sabres. The draft was Friday and Saturday. Free agency opened on, what is today? Tuesday. He's letting you know exactly what Sabres land was like, but the big move was JJ Peterka out the door to Utah. We kind of mentioned it already on what our thoughts were about that deal. I don't mind it because he wanted out. I just don't think they got enough for it. I'm not going to hammer home, but I'll put it like this. I've liked all the moves that they have made so far as of this date at 8 o'clock on Tuesday, but I just don't think they made enough in a top 6 role to make that big of a difference. I liked all the moves they made. I think they were very pinpoint on all their moves. But I don't think they got that offensive replacement for JJ Peterka, and they were already light on the top 6 forwards.
Yeah, and that's kind of the problem. It's very similar to last year where they brought in a Zucker, they brought in McLeod/McLeod, and they brought in these good fourth-line players to really boost the team. And that's all fine and well, and the offense ended up not really being the problem. But the problem now is that you lost one of those big offensive pieces, and you didn't do enough to replace it. Like, all of these moves, while great for the team, they're more depth-type moves. Like, yes, some of them will be playing on higher-up lines and whatnot, but you didn't bring in that dynamic player to push you over the edge to make playoffs. You brought in a lot of players that will improve this roster from what it was last year, but not a dynamic, impactful top 6 forward, which is now, I mean, it's what you needed before you lost Peterka, and now it's absolutely what you need now that you lost Peterka. I know there's still rumors and things flying around about Bo Byram. We'll see what they do with him, whether it's a trade, hopefully, for a top 6 forward, or if they re-sign him and try to continue with that defense. But we'll see. They definitely still need a top 6 forward in order to go anywhere next season or have kind of any real faith. Like you said, they've made positive moves to improve the roster. Absolutely. I even like bringing in Lyon as their new backup goalie. It's nice to see them go out and get someone so they're not rushed to bring Levi up and, have UPL and Levi be the 1-2, because I think that'd be gross. But having him here, I don't think he's going to do anything interesting for the team, but I think he's a solid backup for UPL, or possibly the starter if they don't want to rush Levi. But like you said, they've done a lot of nice things, but not enough to truly buy back into this team.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. I like the upgrades on defense, but unless you add a top 6 forward, it's going to be run back. You're going to be like an 85-point team. So we'll see if they make any more moves. But Phil, I'm chasing around a puppy right now, as you can see. Is there anything else with this episode before we shut it down for another week and get ready for our super secret mission?
No, we're all good, and you go enjoy puppy duty.
I'm gonna go figure out what the heck he's doing. But that will conclude this one. We'll be back next week for 3 more teams on our report cards, and maybe the Sabres made more moves. I think Tony's saying that's not going to happen. So thank you all for listening to another episode of the Buffalo Sports Collective. Thank you to Tap That Tap Room for sponsoring this episode and this podcast. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Visit our website at buffalosportscollective.com. Check out our store on our link tree and our socials, or at the shop tab at the top of the website. Tony, over here. You can follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts, and make sure you leave us a review on Apple and Spotify. If he doesn't kill me, I will be back next Wednesday. Until next time, bye-bye.